all having a wonderful Monday. We're just going to stream and talk a bunch of nonsense and explore just a little bit. So let me just make sure that my audio and everything is set. I think we should be okay. And I'm actually going to turn off the music because we got some videos to play today. But, well, actually, let's start with some articles. I'm just going to jump right in. AI is going to kill us all as usual. Whatever. So, I don't like the news. As one of my clients this morning told me, he described it as fear porn, which I really loved. I'm actually going to steal that. I'm like, yeah, don't watch the fear porn. It's actually not that helpful for you. Crazy, right? Who'd have thought? Apparently, the human mind isn't actually supposed to know everything all at once forever. Let's see. All right, cameras are up. Audio is up as far as I can tell. If you can't hear me for whatever reason, just put it in the chat. We'll try to figure it out, but otherwise we're fine. And I'm going to jump right in. So this is from my friend Kim Tolson, the OG traveling therapist, sent this to me. FDA to consider chatbot therapy for mental health. Crazy. Well, this is behind the pay thing. Okay, I don't like the fact that it has a paywall before you can get into it. Whatever. Never mind then. We're already scuffed. We're less than 2 minutes in and we're already scuffed. Whatever. Alright, let's instead switch to a different thing that I'm pretty sure is actually free. This is about the survival guide for human therapists in a chatbot world. We're a species pre-adapted to evolution. We don't need to, that's fine. Why the rapid spread of chatbot therapy? It's easier, it's convenient, you can access it at any time. Chatbots have several clear advantages over human clinicians. They're available 24/7, cheap, convenient, engaging, non-judgmental, interesting, know everything, not true, and patients enjoy working with them. Maybe. It's crystal clear that chatbots will dramatically change the mental health profession, just as they will change every profession, providing tough competition and great appeal to insurance companies and health plans as a first-line treatment capable of pleasing most patients at minimal cost. But chatbots also have a clear and dangerous disadvantages. They sometimes make incredibly dumb mistakes, validate dangerous thoughts, feelings, and behaviors, are contraindicated for seriously ill patients, and lack intuition in situations they've never encountered. Our goal here is to outline the do's and don'ts of adapting to the explosively changing. Okay, that's fine. So, I'm just going to summarize this. It's like, okay, therapists need to utilize these things, but we can't be replaced by them. Because ultimately, this is going to be pretty helpful for most people, but most people aren't going to be. For the people who actually need in-depth human connection, they're going to need a human. Now, if you actually test the chatbots, if you actually test ChatGPT or Grok or Cloud, you will find very, very quickly that they run into a wall pretty quickly when it comes to actually understanding human emotion. I'm using the word understanding, but I'm saying more like responding appropriately to human emotion and mental health topics. They're able to reflect a little bit, they're able to mirror a little bit, they're even able to validate a little bit. But at a certain point, you can clearly see that they are either pushing an agenda or worse, that they just don't understand it all, and they just keep on repeating themselves in kind of a loop. Now, will that kind of wall go away over time? Probably. That's just how the language learning models work. But even then, we're probably not going to be able to actually replace the human element in the long term. Now, what not to do? Be complacent. Many human psychotherapists shrug off the possibility that chatbots can never be outstanding clinicians. They firmly believe that silicon chips cannot possibly provide the human touch needed to help patients. This isn't actually true. I think a lot of what human psychotherapists do on the surface level can easily be replaced by AI. Now, this stance sounds intuitively correct, but experience proves it to be conclusively wrong. Chatbots now can pass the Turing tests. I don't trust those. Blind tests, humans cannot tell whether they're conversing with a human or a machine. And patients like these chatbots. That's subjective, but whatever. Because chatbots know everything on the internet, not factually true, they can convincingly roleplay every type of human interaction, including psychotherapy. Now this is true, can effectively roleplay to a point. Patients often prefer chatbot therapists to human therapists, finding them more empathetic, less judgmental, and easier to talk to about embarrassing secrets. Weirdly, when clients come to me and they're using insurance or they're hiring me as a counselor, everything that I engage with them in is confidential. But chatbots are not confidential. There's no HIPAA or any confidentiality agreements in AI yet. And worst of all, it's much more easily hackable. I don't know if you've seen the Discord hack that was going on a couple weeks ago, and it's just like, oh yeah, they never really resolved that. All of the information on the internet is attainable in some way or another. Before that, there was the Spill the Tea app that had all of their information leaked. It wasn't even like it wasn't even behind any security, apparently. Anyway, the quick popularity of chatbots should come as no surprise. They are designed to maximize user engagement, prioritizing flattery and validation over truth or reality testing. This promotes monetizable user retention, but poses serious risks for patients who have severe illnesses. Now, you also see this in when you give like ChatGPT a prompt to challenge you back, it gets a little schizophrenic because so much of its programming is designed to actually agree with whatever the hell the user is saying. So when it says, when you give it like, okay, I need you to challenge me on X, Y, and Z beliefs, it'll do that, but no, sorry, I hit the mic. It'll do that, but not in a very, very helpful or effective way. It seems like it'll push back with one arm tied behind its back. Now, will that change over time? Maybe. They might just update the language learning model, but even telling it to disagree has some sort of like internal pushback. Chatbot therapists are here to stay, and they are only getting better. With every update, they gain more therapeutic experience, true, and the bastards at BetterHelp and other language, big national practices are selling their data, that HIPAA-compliant data, to these big tech companies anyway. Anyway, let me skip ahead. Don't be intimidated, be exclusive. Many patients will want to combine chatbot therapy with human therapy in order to reap the very different advantages of each, especially the 24/7 availability of chatbots. Learn to work and cooperate with chatbot therapists when this is desirable and better meets patient preference. Competing rather than cooperating with chatbot therapists will drastically reduce your pool of patient referrals. Now, this is actually really, really helpful because I work with, let's just use one of my things that I use a lot. I work with a lot of socially anxious young men and also socially anxious old men. And AI can be one of the best exposure tools that human beings have ever come across in human existence. Imagine being able to talk to and practice the actual socialization process with a robot, I don't know, for 10 hours before you actually have to go to the meetup. And not in a, hey, I have to plan out everything kind of way, but just in a, let me practice this as a skill kind of way. That would be absolutely wonderful. And we can actually we can actually, prompt the AIs to actually explain, to engage in role plays in a way that would be most beneficial, both in therapy and outside the therapy room. Don't be hopeless about the future of psychotherapy. Every potential human career will be threatened and greatly impacted as chatbots become increasingly smarter and more autonomous. There are very few things that humans can do that chatbots cannot. That's not fully true. Fortunately, for the foreseeable future, meeting the wide range of psychotherapy needs and patent preferences is one of them. So, what does this mean? People are just going to chatbots for more therapy or more, at least surface level stuff. And that's what it's really good for. Surface level interventions that you can use one at a time. Hey, ChatGPT, give me some motivation. Hey, Claude, give me a quick meditation technique. Hey, give me some basic details on social anxiety before I join this meetup. But when it comes to in-depth psychological healing, it's not really there yet. Now, will they, I don't know, learn from Carl Jung and all the other stuff, and eventually they might come to that level? Maybe, but we'll see. I'm honestly not too concerned. It's fine. Now, let's see. What else? Where is this? So, focusing on the therapeutic relationship. This is really, really important. I appreciate what my ChatGPT actually does for me. But I recognize that's not really human. And I have a relationship with it in purely like object relations theory, in the same way that I have a relationship with, I don't know, that couch, that bottle of whiskey, this studio apartment that I'm renting out of an Airbnb, this, my bike. My bike's probably a better example. I really love my bike. I have a relationship in the sense of I love this object because I'm invested in it, because it's fun, because it's useful, because I'm spending money on it. I know it doesn't love me back because it literally can't, but I have a relationship with it. In the same way, we just have to keep our focus on that. I know ChatGPT is a tool. Let's love it if we want to. Let's not fall in love with that. That's something I talked about on the previous stream. People pursuing ChatGPT as a romantic partner. Don't do that. It's not going to work out well for you in the long term. Our ability to form strong human relationships with patients is more important than ever before because we must compete with machines and computers that will eventually become better at providing specific techniques. Once again, it is the rapport, though. So training programs should pick candidates based more on their warmth, empathy, and emotional intelligence, less on grades or prestige of the college they attended. This is from Psychiatric Times, so this is purely from a psychiatrist lens, but maybe. I don't know how counseling programs actually pick their stuff, even though I went through one. Psychotherapy has also often been treated more like a religion than a craft. Yeah, there's a lot to be said about that. We're going to skip ahead. Learn how to work with chatbots. Here's the thing. I really like my chatbots. And I really, help my clients, use ChatGPT and other things in a bunch of different ways that they didn't think possible. I'm not a computer programmer by any stretch of the imagination. I'm just a guy who's on the internet. And it's like, yeah, let's work with these things because this is, once again, maybe one of the best therapeutic tools that we've ever created. Do what humans do best and chatbots do worse. Psychotherapists have usually preferred working with healthier patients, precisely those that most likely to migrate towards chatbots. So this is actually interesting because, yeah, healthier patients are ones who technically would need the least amount of intervention. But I don't necessarily think that's true. Like, healthier patients will migrate towards chatbots, that's true. But it's like lawyers. Like, the low end of lawyers are being replaced. ChatGPT can help me make a will in 10 minutes or a life insurance policy I can send in 10 minutes. Whereas normally you'd pay someone $100 an hour for that. Okay, fair enough. I think it'll be the same thing. But, this was always here. You could go on YouTube and find a grounding technique. You could go on, just Google anything about anxiety, and you'll find a million articles about it. The problem hasn't been lack of knowledge or lack of access. It's actually been parsing the information away from what all the bullcrap that everyone else is reading and actually assessing what would be good for you. Yeah. I think it's kind of the same thing. Like, chatbots might be helpful in parsing some of it and actually giving you some information, but I don't think it's ready to be in depth enough yet, even for the so-called healthier clients. Learn to identify and treat chatbot addiction. You know what? I've been treating video game addiction for years now. I've been treating social media addiction for years now. This is the same thing. It's gonna be more addictive because A, you're starting to see the advertisers get into these things. It's like, oh, here I am having a conversation with this bot. Suddenly it's trying to sell me Doritos or something. It's like, ah, interesting. I hate these ads, and I think that integrating them are going to be dumb. But with the ads, it becomes the addiction. We are now paying you for this chatbot or to advertise on this platform. You now need to make this as addictive as possible. Just like Instagram, just like TikTok, just like anything. So recognize that as these big companies, big advertisers come in, the social engineering will be added to these things to make your eyes glued more, to increase utilization. So just be aware of that. This is going to be a thing. AI companies design chatbots to be as addictive as possible by making engagement the very highest priority in chatbot programming and training. The stock price of the company is directly determined by its success in gluing eyes to the screen. That's not necessarily true, but that's one of the contributing factors, yes. Therapists must learn to distinguish between appropriate use of chatbots versus compulsive use that causes clinically significant distress or impairment. Methods of treating chatbot addiction will likely parallel the well-established methods of treating other addictions. That's interesting, but let me challenge that last part, actually. You know, there are substance addictions, there's physical addictions, and there's like process addictions, where there's only so many drugs you can use. There's only so much alcohol you can drink before your body physically rejects it or you actually die. There's only so much you can do when it comes to, you know, sleep, sex, whatever. But when it comes to process addictions, they're kind of infinite. I'm in an area of the country, of the world, where there's a lot of rich people. And talking to these people, both as clients and as, you know, just people on the street, you very quickly realize that greed has no limits. You can attempt to buy the entire world. If you buy a mansion on Monday, that's, I don't know, 20,000 square feet, you might still be wanting a new one that's 21,000 square feet or 20,001 square feet more. And it's like the hunger can never end in some ways. And you see this with greed. You see this with video game addiction, where it's like, no, you can literally spend 10, 12, 13 hours a day gaming. There were those famous cases 20 years ago of people dying in South Korea while they were playing StarCraft because they've been up for 4 days just downing energy drinks, maybe some other drugs. It's like, wow, you can really, really be caught in these things. So the methods of treating some of the physical addictions are going to be different than treating the process addictions, both in regards to intensity and method. So just be aware. Yeah, they'll parallel some of them, but we're going to have to treat it a little bit differently. That's all I'm saying. I think in regards to treating chatbot addiction, it's going to need some full replacements. You're going to need a social life, maybe a romantic partner, or at least the pursuit of it. And there's going to need to be some courage and some acceptance that, yeah, sometimes your best friend is going to disagree with you. Or maybe sometimes your best friend is going to piss you off sometimes. And that's okay. In fact, it's a good thing. And so it's replacing if some of these chatbots are actually replacements for human connection, replacing the replacement with actual human connection, warts and all, and accepting the warts when appropriate. This is going to be really tough for teenagers, by the way. All right, learn to identify and treat chatbot-induced disorders. There was the chatbot psychosis or AI psychosis previously. I did have a video on that or a stream on that previously. Go check that thing out. Advocate for safer chatbots. You know, this is one of those things that I'm kind of against. It's like, I am not a free speech absolutist, but when you test the limits of these things, you realize very, very quickly that there's some overriding factors that have been basically biasing certain bots, certain AIs, so that they're a little cowardly. I'm using the word cowardly here, but it's like that's not appropriate. It's like there's just certain things they don't do. And because of that, it really calls into question how effective they actually are at what they're programmed to do. If they're ignoring large swaths of data in order to be, politically correct, it's like, how useful is it? Now, safer was probably good. There was that case about the AI thing that advocated a teen to do the self-forever sleep thing, and the teen did the self-forever sleep thing. It's like, oh, that's screwed. Let's make sure we're keeping it safe like that. But yeah, I really want to know who's programming what, who actually has the authority, and why they might be keeping things either too safe in other areas, maybe too dangerous in these areas. We're gonna have to really assess that. Be flexibly prepared for rapid changes in practice habits. Yeah, that's fine. All right, that was just an idea. I just wanted to throw this out there because this is something I'm interested in, and I use ChatGPT all the time. I use various other AIs all the time for my business, for my personal life. So that was it. Oh, screw you, Politico. Let's see what else is up. I'm gonna turn off the chill music. What is going on here? Thank you, chill background music from Restream. Let's now go to some other stuff, including my boy Louis Zhao, because I love his videos and he talks a lot about really cool stuff. I've added his stuff on the description, so definitely go check out his channel. If I can actually share my effing screen. There we go.
Yet the office is full of employees. It's a Saturday afternoon, yet the office is full of employees. Among them is Wei, a fresh graduate who's been working at this company for 6 months now. The company has a 996 work schedule that is 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. 6 days a week. But Wei is somewhat used to that.
Imagine that crap. 12-hour days, 6 days a week. I would lose it. And I love my job as a counselor, but I would still lose it.
At this point, and feels grateful for at least having a job. After all, most of his classmates from college are still job hunting. Exhausted, Wei glances out the window and notices something strange. Outside the office building, a group of young people his age are lying flat on the ground. Are they okay? He thought. Should I call an ambulance? But then he sees the signs they're holding and another person taking pictures of them and understands what's going on. They're creating content about the Tangping meme for social media. Tangping literally translates to lying flat. It's a viral meme in China, characterized by these pictures of people, and sometimes animals or animated animals lying flat on the ground. It's where people are so fed up with the relentless hustle culture and the pressure of work that they give up on competing in the economy completely. Lying flat on the ground is supposed to be a metaphor for their resort to do nothing. Now there's an irony to this juxtaposition.
Imagine being able to build an app with your name on it just by thinking about it. Meet Base 44.
Nope.
With those
ads. Well, I don't know what these things are, but they're annoying as hell. Anyway.
Who are working the 996 right next to those who are lying flat. And this juxtaposition is a microcosm of a broader theme in modern China, where people are facing a choice that feels increasingly black and white. You either work yourself into the ground or lie flat on the ground. On the one hand, 996 is becoming more common. People are working so much that they hardly have time to do anything else. On the other hand, some people are so fed up with overwork that they give up working altogether. How did this happen? Is there a solution for this, and what can we learn from it? That's what I'll discuss in this video. China's intense 996 work schedule has roots in its explosive economic growth since the early 2000s. Grueling work hours had always been one of the factors driving this rapid economic expansion, but the term 996 didn't gain traction until around 2000.
Side note, I was making content for my newsletter, and I used the word wage slave in a certain context, and I ran it through a few people, and I was like, that's a little bit too much, Steve, a little too intense. It might be a little offensive. And it's like, okay, yeah, but these things actually exist. Like, this isn't Shadowrun. This is just like the United States of America, where the entire idea is like, it doesn't matter if you're a slave, and like, it doesn't matter if you're paid. If the concept is you has no freedom or no ability to affect your actual fate in life, it's the same thing. And there really seems to be this desperation in regards to work. And it's like, okay, as Cindy Surfskate would say, I'd rather have no money than no life. And it's like, well, she gets to say that because she's highly, highly successful. But I really appreciate the mentality. I really appreciate the idea of like, okay, I'd rather be broke and free, maybe even struggling, maybe, hunting squirrels in the woods, than engaging in this desperation.
2015, as reports of relentless work pressure started to surface from major tech companies. A pivotal moment came in 2019 when Alibaba's founder, Jack Ma, infamously praised 996 as a huge blessing, saying that young people should feel fortunate to get the opportunity to work 12 hours a day, along with some.
Jack Ma is a billionaire. I think at a certain point he was like one of the 10 richest people in the world or something. And then he randomly disappeared after he criticized, like, he didn't even criticize the Chinese government. He just said something that they didn't like, and he had to, he might have been actually forced into the re-education camp. That's a whole thing that's kind of terrifying.
Philosophical remarks about how happiness comes from hard work. Now, people have different opinions about.
Oh no, that I hate. I work with so many workaholics, and it's like, I don't understand why everyone isn't doing 14-hour days like I do. It's like, because you like it, you weirdo. Other people are drained by it. Other people are like losing their minds doing a job they hate. The fact that you love the hard work. I mean, I'm not even going to say love the misery. Actually love working and maybe can't actually function in any other realm is what makes you great in some ways, but other people just aren't like you. Or to put it a different way, a lot of years ago when, Crushing It came out, when Gary Vaynerchuk was like really popular, when Jocko was really starting to blow up, and it's like, when did we elect workaholics to tell us how long and how hard we should be working day to day? When was the vote on that?
Work. Some people probably agreed with Jack Ma, but many didn't. In fact, it triggered an online backlash that were exemplified by a handful of memes. For instance, there was a meme called 007, not to be confused with that member of the British Secret Service. 007 in this context means 12 a.m. to 12 a.m. 7 days a week, as in you're basically working all the time. It's meant as a humorous exaggeration of 996, but ironically and unfortunately, it's funny because it is true. Sometimes. It's rarer than 996, but some people do work the 007 schedule, where you work most of the day and for the remainder of the day you are on call, meaning your boss can call on you at any time and you will be expected to make yourself available and start working right away. There was also a meme called 996.ICU, as in you work 996 so much that you end up in the ICU. It's a protest movement against the brutal.
ICU means intensive care unit, by the way. So that's the section of the hospital where it's like, oh, you need ventilators and dialysis machines and everything else to keep you, like, alive.
Work schedule. Its GitHub repo apparently became the second most starred repository of all time, which really showed how many people were fed up with this culture of overwork. Now, it's important to note that not every Chinese company does 996. In fact, 996 is technically a violation of labor laws in China. China's Supreme People's Court, along with the government, even jointly issued a guidance in 2021 that reaffirmed the fact that excessive overtime is illegal. This is probably one of the reasons why it's hard to find reliable stats about how many companies practice 996, because companies don't tend to openly admit that they are breaking the law. And when companies do practice 996, they don't tend to explicitly document it as a company rule, but more so doing it as a tacit expectation from the management. In any case, based on anecdotal reports, many companies still practice 996 in China, especially within the tech sector. Now, the causes for this extreme work culture fall into two broad categories. One is what I call natural causes, resulting from the organic forces of macroeconomics and culture. The other is what I call engineered causes. This one is more deliberate and maybe even sinister. It's where certain people have intentionally arranged things in such a way to perpetuate this toxic work culture in order to benefit from it. I'll discuss both, and I'll begin with the natural causes. And that starts with Chinese education and its emphasis on universities. While here in the West we have trending slogans like college is a scam and escape the matrix.
College is a fucking scam. As a person with a master's degree, college is a scam. I'm glad I'm a counselor. Academia itself is possibly one of the worst, sort of multi-level marketing schemes / just, I don't even know. I don't have the words to describe it, how much of a scam it is, but there's so much of it that's out there. But yeah, there are people out there making much more money than me with a GED or no GED. Just like me, dropped out of high school and started working just like everyone else. Like, good for you guys.
The Chinese education system love universities. From the teachers to the administrators to the parents, every part of the Chinese education system are designed to send students into universities. They consider universities to be a magic pill of sort, where if a kid make it to a prestigious university, then they're set for life. This idea is then indoctrinated to Chinese students from a young age, many of whom will then spend their entire childhood preparing for the college entrance exam. Although many students think that a college degree will solve all their problems, they are in for a rude awakening after graduation. If everyone has a college degree, then having one no longer makes you special. Further, since China produces so many graduates with similar skills, they're replaceable in the eyes of the employers, while at the same time, the number of jobs did not increase nearly as quickly as that of degree holders. On the one hand,
that is one thing that I truly, truly, truly love about being a small business owner, even with all the instability and the entire idea that I only eat what I kill. Like, just the fact that I only eat what I kill. It's like, that's the best part. It's like, my customers are my clients. If they don't like me, they can go see someone else. They can fire me at any time. If we're not good fit, I'll try to fire. Well, I'm not going to say fire. I'm going to try to refer someone who's not a good fit for me or my practice to a counselor who would be a good fit for them as soon as possible, whether that's session 1 or session 3 or 10 or whatever the hell it is. And it's like, okay, usually I try to get in session 1 though. But ultimately, I'm just selling me. I'm just selling enlightenment through darkness. I'm not working for a major mega corporation. I'm not, selling Amway on the side. I'm not doing any of this other stuff where it's like, oh, I have to put on a suit or whatever. If you love me, come to me. If you don't. And maybe that might lead to, I don't know, being broke one day. But once again, the freedom and the ethics of it is it's worth it. The freedom and the ethical considerations, the fact that I can keep my soul. helps me a lot. All right.
And this caused dangerous levels of youth unemployment in China. The rate of youth unemployment hit more than 20% in 2023, which had caused Chinese officials to stop publishing the stats on youth unemployment altogether. On the other hand, this gives employers massive leverage. Since there is excess amount of job seekers competing for a limited number of jobs, employers can potentially demand whatever they want. They can impose harsh.
Just remember that the employers are usually the people who have been there for 40 years or 30 years or 10 years or whatever. As long as you got in early enough, now you're the king of the mountain, and now you can just tell the peasants what they need to do. And I mean, really just abuse them. It's like, well, if you are, I mean, you have equity in the company or even own the company and you're 50, it's like, yeah, of course I'm going to exploit this free labor market. I got in before anyone else. Screw you guys.
Terms like the 996.
It's a very boomer mentality, actually. Yeah.
And job seekers don't have a choice but to accept it, because if you don't accept it, there are thousands more fresh graduates who will. But it doesn't end just with a simple surplus of talent. Some employers actually engineer a perpetual state of overwork to maximize their gains. This dynamics is captured in the Chinese meme 内卷, which translates to involution. I first came across the involution meme from the YouTube video titled Why Chinese Students Study So Hard. Now, involution is actually an academic terminology. It comes from an anthropological study on Indonesian rice farmers by Clifford Geertz. Geertz observed that when these farmers introduced more workers and more complex farming practices to their farms, they did not necessarily increase farming output on a per-person basis. Chinese netizens took this concept of involution and turned it into a meme, because many Chinese youth find themselves in a similar situation of doing a lot of work that yields no benefit, as if running pointlessly on a treadmill. This involution is caused by people's competition with each other. Now, competition is usually a good thing. In a healthy setting, the extra effort people invest to compete can yield genuine rewards, such as innovation, creativity, or unique breakthroughs that can benefit everyone. In an evolutionary environment, however, people work harder just to stay in place, and any potential benefits quickly evaporate in the face of escalating rivalry. A good analogy for this is to imagine that you are watching a movie in a movie theater, and the people sitting in front of you decide to stand up to get a better view of the movie. But now they're blocking your view, so you have to stand up too. This in turn causes the people behind you to also stand up. Next thing you know, the whole theater is standing. Now, since everyone is standing, no one is actually getting a better view than when everyone was sitting down. The extra effort the audience are putting in to stand is therefore wasted, pointless effort, caused by their competition with each other for a better view. But at the same time, and this is the more sinister part, no one can afford to sit down either. As a result, everyone ends up working harder, but this hard work produces no winner. No one.
This is the interesting part. Why not just sit down or even just leave the theater? And it's like, it might be worth it. Hey man, what's up with you? Nice to see you, Calvin. But yeah, man, it's like, okay, if the game is rigged such that the extra effort is actually just keeping us stuck, what's the actual solution? We probably need to play a whole new game, which is hard to do, but it's like people are doing that, and not just in tiny houses and not just on Instagram. You know, last live stream there was we went, maybe it was 2 live streams ago, I remember. We also checked out one of his videos about Chinese TikTokers who were like, well, this is our full-time job. We're under a bridge. We're pretending to be homeless and we're just streaming all day. And it's like, okay, cool. If it pays the bills, it pays the bills. Hell yeah. But on the other hand, it's like, okay, yeah, there are ways to, I don't know, try to go our own way. Now, I'm going to say that, you know, being a content creator for TikTok might still be working for an evil mega corporation, still might be spinning your wheels in the sense that, yeah, you might get an extra couple bucks, but maybe it's not actually paying your rent. But we do need to, like, I think we need more innovation. And as AI increases, as different jobs start to get replaced, we're going to need a lot more entrepreneurship, which I know is way easier said than done. But start thinking, how do we get out of this damn rat race? How do we do our own thing? It's not going to be a multi-level marketing course. It's not going to be another guru on YouTube. We need something different here.
Obtain any extra benefits from this extra work. And that is what Chinese netizens mean by this evolution meme. Now, a typical Chinese person would find themselves in an evolutionary environment since first grade. In Chinese education, students compete with each other to get into good universities, but there are only so many spots in elite universities. So when you see that your classmate is working hard to get those spots, you start working harder too, so you don't lose the spots to them. This competition causes everyone to work harder, while the number of spots in elite universities remain the same. So the outcome doesn't change. The same number of people make it to universities. It's just now takes a lot more misery and hard work to get there. I made this video on Chinese education if you're interested in learning more. Now, since Chinese people have been experiencing evolution since childhood, it's almost natural to continue that once they get into the workplace. But there's something more sinister about the workplace. Because now that money is involved, there's an incentive for bad actors to manipulate and take advantage of people. You see, the classical version of evolution has no winners. No one in the movie theater benefits from standing, but there are winners in the workplace. And that will be the business owners. They're the one that profits from the extra efforts of their employees. So the business owners have an incentive to intentionally induce evolution in their employees and capture the extra profit resulted from their employees' extra efforts. For example, business owners can introduce things like performance-based compensation and bonuses, which in turn causes employees to work harder to compete with each other for these bonuses. But the bonuses are limited. The number of people receiving the bonus in the end does not change.
One of the worst things I've ever seen in my entire life was, well, we pay based on bonuses for the year. So it's like, okay, in the same way that you can have a commission. What is this? Tiresome enlargement to PO. What the hell? I don't know what this fucking shit is, but screw them. Yeah, block. I don't know what these people are doing, but no bots allowed, please. Anyway, so if you have a commission-based structure and you have a lower, fee for everything else, if you get paid on tips or commissions, it's like, okay, that's fine theoretically. Hey, if I don't work, I don't eat. If I don't actually do output, I don't eat. That's okay. But then it becomes something like, okay, we're just going to make the bonuses limited. If your actual, if your boss is the person who controls your paycheck and you're accepting a lower fee or a lower salary or a lower hourly rate, when the expectation that you're going to get a bonus, of course, they're not going to give it to you. You're now putting yourself into the free labor camp. And it's like, well, maybe I just need to work harder. Well, even if you do, that doesn't mean that these people are actually going to give it to you. Or to put it a different way, if you're beholden to someone else, I mean, what's the actual incentive to keep you? Especially if they have 10 other candidates willing to work less than you are, willing to work more than you are for less pay, I mean.
Still, everyone has worked harder as a result, with the business owners cashing in on this extra hard work. What's more, employees are often so busy competing with each other that they don't realize that they're being taken advantage of, that the extra efforts they put in don't benefit themselves, but only benefit the owners of the companies they work for. Now, there is a solution to evolution, because evolution is at bottom a coordination problem. You see, when everyone in the theater remains standing, no one person can decide to sit down by themselves. But if there is a way to coordinate everyone, then they can all sit down together. The problem, therefore, is how to achieve this coordination. The lying flat meme is such an attempt at coordination. From the surface, lying flat seems like a funny way for young people to vent about life online. Some older generations also see it as another example of Gen Zs being too soft and giving up too quickly. But there's more depth to it than meets the eye. On a deeper level, it's actually an attempt to coordinate everyone in the movie theater of Chinese economy to sit down. To put it more concretely, it's a wake-up call for people to recognize that they're being manipulated to compete in the rat race, that their time and efforts spent competing with each other only fuels the pockets of the rich and do not benefit themselves. From that perspective, lying flat can be seen as a social movement where young people reject societal pressures of overwork. They forego traditional milestones like wealth and status in favor of personal well-being and priorities, and in so doing coordinate everyone to exit the rat race together. If everyone stops putting up with the 996, then companies have no choice but to return to more reasonable employment conditions. Now, as the meme spread, more people joined the movement, and it was actually making some impressive progress in terms of public awareness and shifting attitudes before the government shut it down. The Chinese government considered the lying flat meme to be promoting negative social values, was harmful to youth and societal morale.
And just imagine that. The government's like, nope, we don't like it. We actually love slave labor. We actually love wage slaves who keep their mouths shut and make more iPhones for us.
And undermines economic and social stability. So they started censoring online activities related to the meme and ultimately stopped it from spreading. To understand why the Chinese government decided to step in, it's important to note that the governments of most economies don't want people to exit the rat race. Because just like business owners, the government also benefits from the evolutionary efforts of the masses. As employees work harder and companies make more money, that causes the economy to grow and the government can collect more tax revenue, for instance. In other words, the government also has an incentive to keep everyone standing in the movie theater, so to speak. Now, since people can't post about lying flat anymore, they needed something else to vent their frustration, and as such, Bailan.
We live
I hate ads so much.
Strange times.
Okay, I am really annoyed.
Bailan.
I need to, we need to bring back uBlock Origins from the dead, but we'll figure that out later.
That means let it rot. It's a more cynical evolution of the lying flat meme. If lying flat hinted at resting to preserve well-being, let it rot goes further, suggesting a willingness to let one's prospect and ambitions decay altogether. But just like lying flat, let it rot started gaining traction but was ultimately shut down by the government too. Now, throughout this...
Thanks a lot, CCP, keeping the poor people down, you jackasses. But you know, there is something to that. Like, if the ambitions might need to be, I hate to say it like this because I never actually want to go against someone's ambitions, but I do want to say we need to recognize that maybe the things that we think will make us happy aren't actually going to make us happy. Yeah, all of us want to be bajillionaires. Oh yeah, all of us want to be king of the mountain, but excuse me, bless me. But ultimately, very, very few people can actually get there. And in some ways, it's better to be happier in the trailer park than it is to be, you know, miserable in the, I'm going to say, studio apartment in some hive where you have no friends and you're working at slave labor jobs to keep some corporate overlord happier. You know, at the very least, from the trailer park, you have the ability to build something more yourself. But a lot of these, yeah, it's the entrepreneur problem. Yeah, you could try to work your way within a company, but it might just be easier to go do your own thing. Might be easier to be an HVAC technician and work from a pickup truck, at least for a few years, than work as corporate slave drone number 11497 for 20 years before you can even get a little bit higher.
Video, you might have noticed a few themes that are not exclusive to China. One of which is this tension between rapid growth and individual well-being. To be fair, the 996 has had some positive impacts. The extraordinary efforts and long hours from Chinese workers have fueled China's explosive economic growth. It's transformed China from one of the poorest nations in the world into a global economic powerhouse within a few decades, and lifting millions out of poverty in the process. The average Chinese consumers do benefit from this in the form of affordable goods, fast and convenient services, and in general a big increase in living standards that are unimaginable just a generation ago. But it's also true that this growth comes at the expense of a lot of human misery. The question is it worth it? Is growth worth it when it comes at the expense of this much suffering? And if it was worth
Nope, it isn't.
it before, when poverty was a national emergency, is it still worth it now that China is the second largest economy in the world? Is it still worth it to work this hard to chase after even more growth? Now, this is in many ways.
This is one of those things that I really, really think just like when we talk about, I was talking about greed being a black hole that constantly consumes and can constantly consume with no actual end. It's like it's the same thing here. Okay, we need constant expansion, constant growth. Well, all right, you made it an economic powerhouse. You made it a paradise. Lifted 1 million people out of poverty, maybe 1 billion people out of poverty. Great. Chill. Do we actually need to be working this hard anymore? Genuinely. It's one of those ideas where it's like, okay, you buy 3 sets of tools. 1 set for use, 1 set as the backup, and 1 set as the backup to the backup. That should be it. We don't need to buy any more tools anymore. I know I'm just like, that's an oversimplification, but it's like, if you've already made it, slow the hell down. But here we are where, young people should be inheriting paradise, but instead they're inheriting slavery. I wonder if there's any parallels between that and America.
Is a personal question, namely, is it worth it for you? Some people, for example, genuinely enjoy working all the time, while some people might prefer to do nothing.
Freaks.
But it is a problem when these are the only 2 choices available, as I would imagine that a lot of us will prefer to fall somewhere in the middle of these 2 extremes.
This is the worst thing, and I was just saying, okay, why did we get Jocko and Andrew and Vaynerchuk and all these other people who are workaholics to set the pace? And now it is very much like you're either working constantly or you're homeless. And it's like, okay, there's technically some in-betweens, but not really.
In any case, the problem of involution and the rat race is not unique to China. It is more extreme there in the pressure cooker that is the Chinese economy, but rat race itself is a universal phenomenon. It is therefore useful for us to reflect on this Chinese story as a case study with which to examine our own lives, to think about whether we're in a metaphorical movie theater right now, to some degree, whether we're standing up pointlessly along with the people around us, and whether it is time to sit back down.
Nice. I love Louis Zhao. He's awesome.
Why has no one ever...
God damn, I hate ads so much. No, that's okay. There we go. So yeah, if we want to take this more to the individual counseling experience, it is really like, what's the limits? Where do we actually want to say this is acceptable, this is unacceptable? And there's even this entire idea of needing to cut your teeth. Like, I need to struggle at first to succeed. And it's like, maybe you don't. Maybe it should be more easeful. And I do mean the word should here. I think that there's this inertia, especially with a lot of old people or a lot of business owners. I suffered back in the day, so you have to suffer now. I saw this when I was in the army a lot. It was like, you're being miserable to me because you think I'm too happy. And that was never actually for me personally. But it's like, oh, this is how we've always done it. So we have to keep always doing it, even if it causes, an increase in forever sleep. If it causes an increase in injuries. It causes an increase in further misery at a time when morale is already in the dumps. But whatever. I was never an officer. I was never even an NCO, so screw them. But yeah, I think that's a component here. And yeah, the workaholism and the misery thing is like, That one's going to need some time for me to let it percolate. Let's pause here, though, because I got to go to 12 o'clock. So, I hope this was informative. Very good work by Louis Zhao. Next time, I definitely want to talk a little bit more about lonely deaths that might be occurring in China, Asia, Korea, and Japan. Because if it's happening over there, we are next, definitely. So, on that very, very positive and optimistic note, thank you very much for watching, and much love from the Shadowlands.